So let's go through these images real quick. Now the lens that I used here was an 85mm f1.4, and these were all shot on manual mode of all things, and I'll explain why as I'm going through it. The manual mode actually does work on the OLED viewfinder because in your eyepiece you can actually use your thumb wheels to change the brightness or the exposure of every image as it's going by. And I actually find that you have a lot more creative control on the fly when you're doing something like that. So these were all shot at ISO 800, and I'll just go through these very quickly. So what I've done here is I have it on continuous tracking, high speed drive mode. And so I've turned on face recognition and object tracking, and this is wide open at f1.4. And you can see what happens is that what the camera is doing is it's tracking the face. Now every once in a while it'll get it wrong because like a hand will go into it and then that hand is now in the shot. But at 12 frames per second you definitely have a lot more that you can choose from. So that's what's kind of neat, is if you're in the middle of a moment and the kids are just kind of going a little bit nutty, then you can, it's almost like shooting a video actually, because the camera goes so fast, it goes that you can just go in here and just kind of like whap these shots. And now here you see that the hand has actually been caught because it's so far in front of it, and that one, I think the object tracking went over the face recognition. The face tracking is really kind of cool though, because as you're going through, you'll see that there's a little green dot that goes around the actual face, and as the face moves around within the frame, you'll see the focus point actually go onto the face itself. And it's pretty accurate because I'm very, very close, 85mm lens, wide open at f1.4, and I'm getting this kind of sharpness on many of the shots. Now there's a few that might be soft, like that one right there is soft, but the kid's moving. I mean, the kid's moving really fast, so the camera is catching it. But if you've ever shot video and you like a real high quality video, and you notice how the cameras go, you'll see that they kind of look like that, right? Where it's like and they kind of move like that. That's basically the type of photography that I'm talking about with a camera that has an OLED sensor shooting that kind of speed. And now here's another thing. Face tracking and object tracking is not possible on an optical viewfinder because this is just like video. You know, when you're on even your iPhone, you'll see that on your iPhone it'll move around and it'll select a focus point for you. Well, that's simply because you have the digital display on. With an optical display, it's up to your thumb to choose which spot that you want to have it focus on, or it's up to if you put it on continuous focusing mode and let it do the matrix metering where it picks the focus point for you. I found that in Canon and Nikon systems it always picks the closest thing because it obviously doesn't know what a face is because it's an optical tracking device. So to make it clear, what's happening is this. In an optical world where you're shooting through an eyepiece, an optical eyepiece, the eyepiece is basically concentrating on whatever focus points that the technology is going to give it for contrast. When you actually have a feedback system that is video, then the video, it's like it's capturing video, and the video is actually tracking the faces as it's moving around across the frame and allowing you to lock. Now, the other thing that's kind of cool about this is that when you have multiple faces, and you can actually hit the exposure lock, the focus lock button, and choose another face that happens to be in it. But here again is that 12 frame per second. And so what I have on the Sony is I have it on continuous high, which is the highest 12 frame per second motor, and then I have it on the continuous focusing, and that is not like focus and recrop. It's literally focusing on the fly. That means if the car was coming at me, it would be focusing without you having to pick the spot and freeze it and lock the focus point. And that's actually kind of a daring world to be on the other optical sensors. But when you're with a digital sensor, the digital sensor actually has quite a lot of good technology there that will pick this up. Now here, there's no face and it's object tracking, so it picks the closest thing and it does a fine job there. So we'll go through here and you'll see that you can go boop, 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 and these are all just very, very quick shots. And here I have the face tracking literally locked on the child behind, and so that's kind of handy because you can see right there it goes back and forth between the two kids. I really like this, by the way. This is the 85 1.8 Sigma lens, and the bokeh is very beautiful here. Bokeh refers to what the image looks like outside of the focus areas, and this is why we buy very fast lenses, so that we can have selective depth of field, but also so that we can have this kind of a look in the background, very watercolory, looks like looking through a rainy window pane on a rainy day or something like that, or fog. Not really fog, but other lenses treat this very differently. So a lot of tests is you'll look for a review of bokeh, B-O-K-E-H. But anyway, this is why I like the optical sensors, and of course the Sony A77, the Alpha series, because they have drives that go this fast, have continuous autofocus, have object tracking and face tracking, so that literally all you do is you just lay on the button, and if the child moves, your subject's moving around or whatever, you can rely on it to do a better job than you could in finding the eyeball in the face and tracking that focus as this is happening. Okay? Have fun with that.